Hey everybody out there, my name is Sean Joy, aka Dragnix, and welcome back to The Hunt. If you don't know what The Hunt is, it's basically 1-minute segments. We're going over the games that I played during the week and picked up, a little bit of a taste of each of the games that I was able to play, whether or not it's good, what they have to offer. So without further ado, let's go and hunt. Life is Strange, a down-to-earth story that has supernatural elements of time travel in it. While the Telltale style is somewhat prevalent here, the introduction of a time travel mechanic is both good and bad. On one hand, it was pretty cool in the first use, and it was cool in seeing different options that you could select in terms of dialogue use. But on the other hand, you seemed obligated to do it every time it came up, and it extended conversations to the point of boring at times. The story seems to set up a lot of elements in the first episode, and it looks to make an interesting story going forward, and I could relate to the good amount of characters that were used here. But in terms of picking the game up now, I honestly can say that it's a story that you can easily wait on despite some of the interesting portions of it, especially in terms of what they do with the story in the next chapters. Hold off for a little bit on this one. It is interesting, but I would hold off. Grand Class Melee 2. It is an early access, but there is potential here. The ability to choose classes after every round to choose another power to take in the battle is really interesting. It allows for a lot of strategy as you try to outthink your opponent to take place in between rounds. The choices of passive and active powers and the different environments play a huge part into this, and so people who love this kind of back and forth challenge will appreciate Grand Class Melee 2. Now I myself found physical melee a lot more effective than ranged gameplay, but mostly because I just didn't get a hold of the patience needed to actually hit with the ranged attacks. It is definitely a bunch of fun, but here's the thing, the network capabilities are coming down the road. It's unfortunately what holds this game back. If you're looking for a local 4-player experience like Towerfall Ascension, then this is exactly what you're looking for. But other than that, you may want to wait on this title. Undead Shadows. I don't even know where to start with this one. I'm not even sure why I chose it to begin with. This is Slaughtering Grounds bad. Enemies run at you in straight lines, if the game doesn't accidentally teleport them 20 feet above the ground to their death. I mean, look at this game. Does it look like a good game? Now look, I give games like this a chance, but this is just another example of another shitty zombie game on Steam. I mean, it had some buildable potential with a crafting system and being able to place things in the world. Oh, who am I kidding? I could bug out the game by getting a zombie stuck in a floor of a building that I couldn't actually get to. Sounds are missing, like falling from heights from trees that I can apparently climb for some odd reason, while other trees, not so much. The game is the kind of stuff that proves that Steam can be a dumping ground for some of the worst games on the face of the planet. Someone made this, I get that, and tried to be positive in some aspect, but I literally can't do anything like that here. This isn't worth anyone's time, even at $5. Avoid this game like the plague. Darkening Dungeon, the game of the week. Of the year, to be honest with you. I mean, seriously, you've probably heard of this game by this point, but my god does it deserve the attention it's gotten. This game has hit the scene and gotten a lot of praise, and it's well deserved. It may be in early access, but it definitely doesn't show as it is polished. A fantastic dungeon RPG roguelike that has several new elements in terms of gameplay, along with permadeath and fantastic visuals. The stress mechanic means that you are always watching your characters to see if they will break, as even one of them can drag the entire rest of your team down with him, as he won't listen to orders or will stress out the rest of your party. The torch mechanic plays a great risk and reward mechanic that makes you think if you really want more items at the price of incredibly dangerous enemies, or staying in the light and hopefully getting a jump on unsuspecting enemies. In addition, the location-based attacks and real variety in classes makes making each team that goes on a mission a really hard and yet necessary choice, as certain characters with certain skills can work wonderfully with each other. The game is difficult, but it's worth every battle and item that you can overcome. There are not many games that I can sit here and truly fully recommend to anybody without taking into account genre and preference of that person. Darkening Dungeon may be the one game that breaks that trend lately. If you're an RPG fan or a roguelike fan, ignore the early access. This game is worth your money right now. And even if you aren't a fan of the genre, Darkening Dungeon is an early candidate for a game that you'll see at people's end of the year list. It's that good. Castle in the Darkness. A tough 8-bit platformer that definitely plays to the nostalgia point as a big aspect of it. You'll see a variety of enemies and, well, ally enemies. If you ever wanted to kill Navi, this is the game that you can get that chance. The game is hit and miss. The challenge is appreciated. However, the game at times can feel cheap in the deaths that it throws at you. The controls are tight at least, and while the game is simple, it takes you back to the 8-bit era in front of the TV, with a simple controller and simple gameplay. The art style is nice. It's done by the artist who did the art for Binding of Isaac. Sound is alright, gameplay is alright, I can safely say it's an alright game. The bosses are pretty pattern-based, just like a lot of those old games were. If you were raised on the NES system, this game may be up your alley, but if you don't like challenges and you don't like unfair platformers, this is probably not a game for you to look at. Stay Dead Evolution. Oh boy, a quick time event driven game with real life martial arts. Sorta. Kind of. The martial arts is a student film and it shows. The action is, how do I say this, boring. That's not good in a game like this, especially when the gameplay is just a series of action prompts, as you expect the immersion or other elements to carry what would be the lackluster gameplay. While they add combos and breakers into the mix, it all comes down to hitting arrows in the appropriate time portion. And even then, at times, it seems like it doesn't respond to you in a timely manner, as you swear you hit the button and it didn't register. Look, I'm a sucker for live action in games, especially since the Red Alert days, so that's what made me look at this title. It's a weakness of mine, I will admit, but usually there has to be a comedy angle or some good acting. There's neither here. Also, Nazi censorship. Yes, as I know, this is necessary for other regions, but I find it hilarious nevertheless, and the fight with the Nazi is one of the lamest fights I've ever seen. That's what really holds the game back. You can find better action and fight sequences on YouTube. Go watch the live action Street Fighter finishers, and you'll get a better experience than this. Darkness Assault. I don't know what I was thinking. I probably was playing too much Darkest Dungeon, and I chose this game out of I'm not exactly sure what. It's another bad horror game on Steam, sadly. Awkward graphics aside, the game's translation is probably one of the fun things about this game, mostly because it's done so badly. I don't expect good translations for small indie games due to the lack of resources for localization, but this one in particular is particularly bad and hilarious at the same time. But gameplay is boring, walking around is boring, and for a game that's trying to go for horror, it's not scary. Again, another game that's got nothing really going for it other than a low price tag, but even then, there's better games to spend your money on. I mean, do you really need me to tell you this game over the footage that I've shown you is bad? Probably not, you're better than that. But even giving games like this a chance, it doesn't come through in that case. This game is just a lackluster event after lackluster event. Pyro Warriors Majora's Mask DLC. The first DLC on the hunt. 2 new heroes and a whole new map was released this week, and this is a week before the Majora's Mask release for the 3DS. While the DLC for Hyrule Warriors has included some good heroes and has been alright up to this point, this week's DLC content stands out for me a little bit. Now, I'm not a fan of Tingle's playstyle, but I do love the addition of Young Link. His reliance on magic and special meters is appreciated in terms of a different character play, especially with the ability to gain magic via your ocarina via the strong attack. But the big addition here is the new adventure mode. The moon mechanic doesn't seem like it'll come into play if you can beat the other maps as the whole time reset thing, but here's the thing. It adds a time element and a new element of strategy. There's a lot of 3-player maps on this portion in terms of 3 teams. Now, do I stop the other team or just go for the win in these sort of race-like conditions? It adds a bunch of new challenge, which was incredibly needed after some of the adventure maps started to feel repetitive going through them. It's a solid DLC pack for people who are wanting more from Hyrule Warriors. Oh, and you can go up to level 200 now. God, I need to play more of this game. Now, for the upcoming week in games, this is a great segue into one of the biggest releases in the week, Majora's Mask for the 3DS. Frankly, Majora's Mask is one of the most underrated in the Zelda series in my opinion. I know I'm not the only one who shares that. And to get it in a mobile form with new improvements is great to introduce a whole new series of Nintendo fans to some of the great characters and stories in the iconic franchise. The game comes out on Friday, February 13th. And for some odd reason, like the Smash Brothers and Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire last year, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate for the 3DS also comes out on the same day, Friday, February 13th. With new weapon classes and the ability to hop on monsters and attack, it follows the successful Monster Hunter 3, and bringing it to the mobile platform and online play will open up a whole new set of players to the experience. Also, apparently there's some kind of new model of the 3DS coming out, and you might have heard about that. Evolve comes out on Tuesday the 10th. The multiplayer Monster Hunter, sort of appropriate actually, this week rules and segues, features 4 hunters as they track various monsters to try to eliminate them. Multiplayer and team fans are going to want to take a look at this one, if you can figure out what version to get. The numerous betas have brought some good gameplay and some interesting mechanics, but be warned, find friends. Teamwork for the hunters can overpower even the most skilled monsters at times, and that can lead to frustrations. And I'll end this clip on a couple of screenshots of other games that I may look at during the week. Now, I probably won't be listing those first 3 games. 1, because I don't have a 3DS capture card at this point. I need to actually get on that. And 2, I don't usually do bigger games for this portion of it. Dying Light was a little bit of a difference, but I will try to get AAA games in there. I admit that Evolved isn't appealing to me as much right now, and some of the other ones, again, 3DS card. But I would like to hear what you think, and if you've played any of the games from the previous hunts and gotten, your money's worth out of it. All right, this is Dragonix signing out, and I'll see you next week. Hey everybody, my name is Sean Joy, aka Dragonix, and I thank you for watching. If you do like this video, hit that like button, and if you do want more content like this from TechRaptor, hit that subscribe button. I will be doing content for TechRaptor on Mondays and Thursdays video-wise, and then doing the rest of the week on the video on my own channel. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Also, play more games. Needs more games.